This is Dr. Philip Chavez of the Men's Academy, and thank you for joining us for the Tuesday College Man Hack, where we cut into the issues that matter. On this program, we want to discuss concerns about life, faith, family, and other things which touch men in university and other guys in their early 20s. And I have with me mostly men of the Catholic fraternity of Cal State Dominguez Hills. It's good to be with you guys. And again, thank you, Jason, for putting this together and hosting, and we're looking forward to this next session. Why don't you take it from here?
Okay, so basically the purpose of this session is to kind of continue on the topic that we were talking about last week regarding the parenting and parent relationships with your children. And I think it's such a wonderful and beautiful idea to talk about, especially with the brothers and to close friends of ours, is because recognizing being a son and actually treating your parents with much respect and understanding the dynamic between the parents and the child is really vital for a healthy life, for really good wellness and spiritual wellness. So I know that Damon and Angel have not been to the last session, which is totally fine. And the thing is that we're going to actually go a little bit, go back, to the topic and kind of talk about it and have a little more overview. So I want to thank you again for you two gentlemen for joining me. And actually, Damon, I want to introduce you to Angel, who's my fraternity brother, the Phi Kappa Theta. Yes. And so, yeah, I guess I will start off with a question then. Same thing like last time. I actually have my notes right here with me. Basically, talking about parent to child relationships, right? What is your take on it, Dr. Chavez? And I know it's a very generalized question, but maybe starting off with the son. What is something in a little overview you can give us about that?
Okay. Yeah, it's a struggle which I think a lot of college men face when, you enter college at the age of 17 and 18. And by that time, it used to be in all of human history, men reached adulthood, right? And so that was the age you didn't go to school. That was the age you went into the workforce and started earning a living and anticipated marriage, right? Either in your teens or your early 20s. Okay, so that was the scenario for most men in all of human history. Now we come across a phenomena by which that's not going on. Guys are staying at home. They aren't really being prepared to work right away. They're being prepared just to study. And so what happens, it forces you, because you're not working, you're not independent, you're under your parents' dominion, right? And so there's a stress there. You naturally are supposed to be working into manhood. I mean, by the time you're 18, your father should say to you, son, you're a full man now. Okay. And so normally a man should be assuming the full responsibilities of an adult male at 18, 19. But what's happening, that's not happening. That's being delayed, right? And so what happens is, you're even your parents, they think they're doing the best service, and God bless them and all their good efforts. But they think maybe sometimes raising you is just about making sure you get to a good college someday, and adulthood, all that goes down the road, because parent thinks, well, my greatest obligation is to make sure my son or daughter goes to a good college, gets a good job, and is stable for life. And so there's not necessarily a preparation for adulthood when you're 18. So this is a struggle. Okay, you're supposed to be prepared for full adulthood by 18, but even in your own mindset, the mindset of your parents, that is in some way delayed, right? And yet at the same time, there's nature speaking that, hey, I want to be independent. And you know what? I don't really want to listen to everything my parents tell me. And you know what? I don't want my mom on my back about this. And, I don't appreciate when my dad tells me I got to do this, and so there's a stress there because, there's the nature of you, as I said, that wants to seek manhood and, carve your own place out in life and become your own man and move in that independence that you really want. But what's happening when you're in school, it's almost like you become almost like a perpetual high school student in a way. You're almost an advanced high school student sometimes when you go into college, because the rules are sort of the same, just just a little bit more advanced studies. And so what has to be negotiated at this point then is a healthy relationship with your parents with healthy understandings. Now that's hard because again, there's a part of you that's growing and wants independence, but like as is the case of most men, they're not under the they're not independent of their parents. They're under their wing, right? So you're under their roof, you know, eating their food, opening their refrigerator, and but yet at the same time, you wish you could be more independent. So there's a struggle there, and so that causes all men to have to get to a point where they need to have an open relationship with their parents, and they're able to discuss these things, right? And to kind of come to I'll use the word compromise, not a compromise in a sense of giving up your values, your ends, or objectives, but you have to sort of meet in the middle where, you know, you're still under their rules. You can't really maintain the independence you otherwise would like to do. You can't, you know, just come and go as you please because you're under their roof. And so whoever roof you're under, pretty much you're under their rules, okay, unless you're paying rent and you're fully independent. But so that's the stress there. And any of you guys suffer anything right now or are struggling with anything right now related to that interplay? By the way, Jason, remember this?
Yeah, I remember the mug.
Good.
Wow.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think you gave that to me a year ago almost, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good time.
It was about a year ago.
Nice. Yeah, I actually had something that I wanted to touch bases on when it comes to parenting. I think that everything you said, I completely resonate with, and I find it to be completely true. Dr. Chavez, thank you for sharing that. That
Sure.
provides a lot of insight in the dynamic that a lot of young men are facing today, you know?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I also think that sometimes our fathers don't necessarily teach us well sometimes when it comes to the passing down of the torch of certain things, because I feel like especially when adulthood came my way, I feel like it just smacked me where, like, for example, you know, when we go through the course of life, like when we're kids, and then eventually we assume more responsibility when we're in high school and what have you. And yeah, sure, we gain a little bit more responsibilities, but I don't feel that it's nearly enough to prepare us for that step.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Because, and I'd say that, yeah, it probably does have to do with the fact that they believe that they want us to go to college, so they're able to extend that kind of those teachings. Sure. And I actually did want to relate it to my own business as well, because I've been starting my own leadership business where I want to coach people on practical leadership skills and how to apply certain skill sets to their life or anything that they personally want to do, whether it's personal or professional. But thank you. But it's difficult coming from a dynamic where I haven't been 100% independent, because building a business is a task on its own, and it does require huge amounts of independence.
Sure.
And I guess when it comes to certain things like that, I've actually experienced a lot of unsupportiveness when it comes to my mission of building this, because of this idea that parents have, and I completely respect it. This idea that money comes a specific way. You know, a lot of our parents had to struggle very, very hard to earn a living, and I think we're living in an economic climate right now where someone can just go viral and become a millionaire, and even though it's not very statistically proven right, I feel like there is so much that's changing with the economy that sometimes some of our parents can't even fathom the different types of ways that the workforce is looking now.
Sure.
So when it comes to the parenting and the different dynamics coming from different economic backgrounds, I feel like it becomes difficult, because I as a child want to understand their perspective and respect it, but at the same time, there's kind of this imposing of their ideas of what the economy looks like, of what certain things are, what the path looks like, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's difficult when someone does not necessarily wants to do things in a conventional way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just thinking like, how does one come into um bringing up conversations like these to parents? Because I feel like there might be a lot of men who may want to start their own business or may want to have a specific job that their family doesn't necessarily approve of,
Hmm.
because they might think, oh, I want my son to be a doctor or a lawyer or
Hmm.
certain there certain high
Something in the trade or
prestigious.
something. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Out the gate, you know, as you were talking, I realized there's an inherent contradiction here. Now, of course, I grew up in an age, I won't say how old I am, but I grew up in an age maybe where there was still a little more respect for the trades, and this virtual electronic world was growing and building. But I was kind of in the middle there, right?
Right.
Guys were sort of moving in the trades. Of course, I went to a college prep school. Most guys went to college, and you know, we didn't have this kind of this virtual world like you have today, which changed the whole landscape. But isn't it fascinating how your parents are are really not necessarily pushing you, but they're really trying to encourage you to go to school and all the rest. But that school is preparing you for all these, you know, cyber, virtual, and other trades, which they don't respect. So there's an inherent contradiction here. They're pushing you in one direction, but they don't really, but yet they don't really respect it. So I could see there's an inherent contradiction right out the gate, right out there. So this is where, you know, you're going to have to just, you know, to the extent that you can, educate your parents, see that, you know, mom, dad, look, I understand, you know, that we certainly need plumbers and doctors and lawyers and electricians, but you know, the market is such today that there's all kinds of other opportunities. We live in a different world. It's electronic, it's cyber, it's techno, it's online. And so, you know, a lot of sales happen that way. A lot of negotiations happen that way. A lot of, I won't say necessarily the trades happen that way, but certain things even in the trades occur that way. So, you know, it's a matter of helping your parents see that there is a different world out there. But what do you think is the impasse, or what do you think they don't see? Because they've got to see you working on your computer. They got to see things operating in a different way, right? What do you think blinds them, or what do you think keeps them back from opening up to this bigger employment world?
Right. I think it's the method of how work is being done. I mean,
Okay.
because I definitely respect like my father was a construction worker, so he worked a lot
Oh,
with
okay.
his hands.
Sure.
There's a specific way that work looks like, you know? And I feel like typically, for example, I'd probably be working on some stuff on my laptop or something. I'll be doing some stuff on my whiteboard, but they won't necessarily view it as something very important. They'll probably be like, "Oh, this guy's probably watching some random YouTube video," you know, or like
Sure.
it's
Sure.
it's interesting dynamic for sure. I
Yeah.
think it's just the way work looks like, and also
Okay.
yeah, I think that would be definitely one of the main points. Yeah.
Okay, one of the things, you know, for which I have to be sympathetic to their position, it's true. So this is a foreign world to them, right? That when they're not seeing you work with the hands. My father was in the trades too. Of course, he wasn't so much stuck on us being in the trades. In fact, I think he wanted us to move something beyond that. However, that being said, you know, one of the things I think they're seeing that they don't know how to express is that it is important that a man, no matter what he gets involved with, that he still do some work with his hands and engage in physical work. You know, we're meant for physical work. Okay, so if they see through, you know, your engagement in the virtual world that you've lost a taste for anything physical, or it's taking you away from that, or you're beginning to develop inclinations against that, they're going to almost rebel against that and not be sure what to say. Do you follow what I'm saying? In other words, and this is what happens, people your generation, they kind of resist doing outdoor work. They resist getting their hands dirty. They resist wanting to fix a toilet. They resist fixing that leak at the sink. And you know, when I was a kid, when the sink leaked, my father used to kind of say, "Hey, Phil, can you take a look at the sink?" In other words, I didn't know how to fix a leak in the sink, but I figured it out. Okay. You know, when of course when I was a kid, brakes were needed on my car. Cars were such that I could work on it. So, I mean, even the thought of asking my dad for help didn't even enter my mind. I just took care of it myself. And so I guess what I'm trying to say, my point is that, you know, if they don't see you engaged in some healthy physical things, they're going to lose a kind of, I won't say a kind of respect for you, but they're going to lose their regard and think that you may not be on the right path. In some sense, they're sort of right. Because if you're not engaging in physical things, you know, we men were meant to be physical, okay? So if you're disinclined to fix the sink, to pick up the trash, to do physical things, your parents are going to see that as a gap in your development and in your maturity. You know, we men were supposed to be stand up to do the hard things, to do the heavy lifting. And if you're not engaged in those things, yeah, they're not gonna respect that. In fact, if you know, sometimes the cyber world can lead to a promotion of being physically lazy. Okay, so that's something you guys have to be on guard with too. So, you know, you can gain the respect of your parents along these manners if you show them that physical side of you. Hey, mom, I'll take care of the trash. Don't worry about it. Dad, I'll take care of lawn, or I'll take care of this. I'll take care of that. That's physical. So they see that you're engaging in that. Because I know I'm thinking of one kid I know who's completely disinclined from doing anything outdoors, and his parents live on several acres. Okay, so he doesn't want to get out there. He doesn't want to be out there. Okay, and that's not good. Okay, so all the more so since his parents are on many acres. Okay, so he needs to be engaged physically and outdoors. But also too, what's going to happen if your parents don't see you engaged in that, they're going to notice that something is in fact missing. Okay, they're going to see something in you that isn't quite developed or quite matured on the kind of the level of nature and that visceral, tougher part of you too. So, yeah, it's important that we men, no matter what we do, we become, you know, physical. Otherwise, we can become soft. And it's never good to become a soft man. And so that's what's happened in your generation. A lot of young kids are growing up, kids, I say when your age, a lot of them are growing up pretty soft because they're not engaging with their muscles and doing the physical and harder things. Does that make sense? How would you comment on that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right too. I mean, because I mean, in my dynamic, for example, I'm actually pretty inclined to do outside of work. I mean, I've helped my father with some construction jobs actually, when it comes to putting the cement out, making sure that everything is flat with that, doing some roofing stuff even.
Yeah.
And I think that it's definitely been great for my development. But I can definitely see a difference in the levels of being inclined to do that kind of work.
Yeah.
Definitely, I have a lesser level than my father, and I would even say that my younger brother has a lesser level than me.
Sure.
And I'm not going to blame it 100% on technology because I don't think that's 100% the factor. I think it's the importance that it has on our life, that shift where we don't believe the physical work to also have that importance.
Yeah. You know,
and,
yeah.
Go ahead.
If you look at the nature of things and what we need on a physical level, as I understand from some, and I'm not an expert on health, but I have read some things, some perspectives. Basically, for healthy development of the eyes and the glands around the face and the skin, we need about 2 hours of outdoors every day. Doesn't mean in harsh sunlight, but it's healthy when you're in near ambient sunlight, okay, that falls on the face at least an hour a day, if not up to 2 hours. Okay, so physically, we need to be outdoors because the light is healing, it's healthy, it helps our development, helps our mood. There's a lot of glands you have around your eyes, and they're triggered by sunlight, okay, and they're actualized. It's one of the reasons why a lot of guys your age are depressed, because they're not getting outside and the glands are not being activated, which dictate a lot of mood, okay? Now, I live in a cyber world too, okay? And most of my work is behind a laptop. Now, I try to work outside as much as I can. Now, my circumstances don't allow that, but interestingly enough, As I'm getting a lot older, I realize things are starting to hurt. Then I'm learning, oh, well, if I would have been outdoors more, the back wouldn't hurt as much and I wouldn't be struggling with these joint issues or whatever. Now, what I'm trying to say is, guys, right now, okay, I'm over twice the age of you guys, okay? I get a kind of exercise, some species of exercise twice a day, not once. You know, when I was your age, I was very dedicated, and I thought all that I had to do was to work out 3 times a week, which I did. I had a stretch, I used to do some power stuff, and I used to run 3 times a week. It was like an hour routine, and I was very faithful. But I realized even that wasn't enough, because if you're in a cyber world, guys, again, not only just do you need outdoor exposure, there's a certain amount of weight bearing, a certain amount of stretch, and a certain amount of cardiovascular you need for healthy development to lead a healthy life. And so, there's now I'm swimming a little bit. Okay. In fact, I just came from a swim, okay, less than an hour ago. But before that, I took some weights outdoors. So I have a light weight routine. I have a stretch routine. Most mornings now, I take a power walk. Now, what I'm realizing, guys, this isn't just optional or nice to do. It's essential for me. Now, you know, when you're young, there's a lot of vitality you guys naturally have. And so in some way you don't need as much as I do, because I need the sunlight. I need to get out there because my body's slowing down. So if I don't, then I really slow down. Okay. So when you're kind of in a world that keeps you indoors behind a computer a lot, you do need to get out twice a day doing different types of things. Maybe not in the dead heat of the sun, but yes, when there's still some sunlight out there. A walking routine, a stretching routine, a weight bearing routine. And because, gyms have their place, but that is a modern phenomena. In other words, we men used to get our exercises done outdoors. In fact, only in the Western world did we really do start doing things indoors. A lot of the Asian cultures are pretty sharp. They don't buy into a lot of indoor activities. So even in China, their kids will learn martial arts even in the cold outdoors still, okay? And I think they probably do that in Japan because the Asians are pretty sharp, okay? They understand you're supposed to be working out outdoors, not indoors, okay? So what's going to happen if you're not engaged outdoors? Your parents are going to see very clearly that, my son, he's kind of like getting a little soft here. The rugged visceral part of him is not really developing. So you got to show them and to yourself, really to yourself. Again, like I say, we're meant for the outdoors, brothers. We're not meant to be behind a computer. That's not natural for us. And so, I believe you need at least 2 periods of outdoors every day. Now, make that at least a 10-minute walk, a power walk. Okay. Most men, because they don't get much exposure, and the Greeks used to think walking was one of the most healthiest forms of exercise. Make sure you're out there at least 20 minutes a day doing a vigorous walk. Every man needs to do that. Okay. Maybe you could listen to some music or one of your favorite speakers or whatnot. There's a lot you could do while you're taking a walk. But of course, I think it's a good time it's a good time to disconnect too and just think and ponder, maybe pray, or just try to just focus and be present to yourself. That could be healthy too. What do you think, Angel?
No, I think it's definitely important for us to engage with the outdoors. Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned the walking. I'm walking actually an hour every day with my mom.
That's great.
We've been circling around the block, making sure that we're good, of course. And yeah, it's been very good for. It was actually very interesting because I wasn't doing much exercise due to the quarantine, and after I did a little running for one day, I was like, what? After just one little run, my thighs are very, very sore.
Yeah. Way
more than they've ever been. And I'm just like, that's crazy what you just saying still can do to you, Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's definitely important for us to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, remember, exercises of 3 different types, as I understand it: cardiovascular, stretch, and weight bearing. Okay, so you need those 3 aspects. And we're speaking generally here. Okay, at least twice of each during the week. Okay, at least. I wish I wish when I was your age, some man would have said, "Hey, look, Philip, you need to be outdoors, getting some kind of workout, even minor, twice a day. Once a day is not sufficient." I used to be very assiduous, again, about working out 3 times a week. But still, even times where I had other downtimes, I should have been outdoors, even studying more outdoors. That's another thing, too. If you could take your laptop outdoors, maybe even under a patio where you have fresh air, flowing air. You know, it said that I remember reading a biography of Benjamin Franklin. He used to sleep outdoors. Now, I'm sure he had a patio, and I'm sure, you know, I don't know what kind of screening they had back in those days, but healthy men slept outdoors. And so the more you can get outdoors, the better, because I mean, oxygen is one of the most important things we need. So I always work always close to a window. Not right now because I'm setting myself up, you know, where I can have a nice background here, right? But I always work next to a window, an open window. It's vital. Fresh air is vital, as well as sunlight.
Wow. That's a very interesting, I think just from this conversation, it kind of added a level of insight to me because I think what I got from this is like parents inherently, right into the dimension of success or like, emotional wellness, they also want the physical wellness of their children, right?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's inherent in every parent. Like, yeah, of course, I totally get it. Like some bad habits and like some family culture, like in terms of how they go about exercise might be different. But I'm saying like, inherently that's part of like the parent to children relationship is that they're caring for the well-being.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like I can definitely say funny stories. Like I was kind of bulking in my senior year of high school after wrestling, I kind of let go after, right? And then my parents were saying like, did you gain weight or something? It's just like something simple like that. It's really funny because it's like they're concerned. They're not like, they didn't make fun of me or anything. And of course, like, oh my gosh, I realize it, so I have to pick right back up and, go back to where I'm at. So yeah, that's something really, another level of dynamic between the child and the parent.
That's a good observation. Your parents, they want to see that you're active and alive. And so, yeah, they want to see that you're engaged. Well, they may not think this way, but if you're engaged in something physical where you're alive and energy and vibrant, that's what they want to see. They don't want to see you kind of down. Yeah, mom, things are all right. Yeah, it works okay. They want to see a physical side that's vibrant, ready for action, ready for even adventure, ready for outdoor activity. Okay. Nobody wants to see a son or a daughter who's a slug. They want to see somebody who's vibrant. So I think it's important too, and even for your own psyche, that when you do get outdoors, you try to do things you enjoy, because one of the things your parents want you to be is also happy, right? And there's a natural joy that children, and we'll just use the words adult children, that's even proper to speak that way, or their older sons and daughters, they want to see them still enjoying things in the outdoors. It's always refreshing. And of course, that's a good preparation when you have kids, that you enjoy being in the outdoors too, because kids need to be taken outdoors. So there's a healthy aspect of being and moving outdoors, but especially when you're engaged in fun activities. That's why for some, especially solitary people, it's so important that they do, this may sound a little strange, that they fly a kite. Okay. Or I used to, of course, when I used to visit my grandparents and they lived out in the desert, I used to do this boomerang frisbee quite a bit. And I used to do a lot of solitary activity where I used to throw the frisbee up in the air like a boomerang. Okay. Such it would come right back to me. Okay. It was fun and I was really good at it too. Okay. So, but it got me outdoors and I really enjoyed it. Okay. And so even things like that are healthy for a good psychic life, to do things outdoors, even with certain games or whatnot, that you're actually having fun, that you're enjoying yourself, that you're even working on some kind of hand-eye coordination. That's important for us men too. Yeah. Any
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. One of the things that I definitely enjoyed too was I took Taekwondo during my early middle during my middle school years and a bit of high school too. And yeah, I mean, I remember I physically felt much better about my days
Yeah.
due to that kind of, I wouldn't say like a strain on your body, but that kind of movement of it, like you just feel like lighter, you feel more energetic throughout your entire day, and it just helps you feel. And I mean, even in the act of taekwondo, when it comes to the sparring, and you reflect like, oh wow, I did really really good on that spar. Like it makes you also witness your own strengths. It makes you
Mhm.
witness your own capabilities,
Yeah.
and I feel like that kind of mentality, when you take it into anything that you're going to do, it makes you think, huh, I'm actually capable of much more. Why don't I try this now? You know,
Mhm. Sure.
it's that healthy goal setting, I think,
Yeah.
that a lot of men
Yeah.
and
It's interesting you bring that up because I'm of the opinion, which I hold very strongly, one of the most formative and character building and character sustaining activities are the martial arts, even when men get older. Okay. It used to be too that there used to be guilds when there was a lot of sword play. In some of the old prints, you could see these men with big guts, even they would still be duking out with the swords, right? It was the way they, when they got together in their guilds, it was sort of a pastime. And of course, it's swordsmanship. It's interesting. I'm not sure if you've ever done it. It's the most intense thing you can do. Okay, there is no physical exercise more intense than swordsmanship, believe it or not. It may not look that way, but actually it is. And and yeah, so that kind of activity used to be done. But anyways, that was the way men used to engage. But the martial arts are highly formative. In fact, not too long ago, I mean, I boxed till I was over twice your age, and or I got back into it. And I'm in and out of Krav Maga, and I still am in and out of kickboxing workouts. Okay, and so obviously I don't do it like when I was younger, obviously, right? But you do what you can, what you have. But you see what's going to happen. I mean, yeah, these exercises, I mean, the martial arts refresh you on a number of levels. But, I'll tell you guys, this is one of the reasons why people suffer with, the knees or the back, or now you can overdo things, but, your back's going to start hurting if by the time you're 50, if you're not exercising it. Okay. And that's not supposed to be the way it is. If we don't exercise our bodies, our bones actually, I want to say not disintegrate, but they kind of wear away. And so if we're not using our muscles, the bones which sustain those muscles are going to start to shrivel and get smaller. Okay, so that's where we see a lot of degeneration in the skeletal system. It's because we're not using the muscles like we should. Okay, so yeah, so I mean, as you know too, the martial arts helps with hand-eye coordination, strength. I mean, there's so many values, competition, which is healthy. Um, you develop a lot of skills through the martial arts. Yeah.
Any questions, comments,
And what
gentlemen?
do you think, Damon? Haven't heard much from you.
Oh yeah, sorry, Dr. Chavez. I'm more like a listener. That's why I really enjoy listening to
Fair
people's
enough.
opinion. I really agree that we really need outdoor exercises. And the earlier topic you were talking about like parenting, yeah, because life is kind of changed because before since the cyber like the technology is not advanced yet, people have to go out to work in industry and instead of go to college, they will like actually go to the work, like engage with the work. But since after 2000, technology like moving so fast,
Mm-hmm.
that's why more children they taking more education, like college stuff. So that's why, yeah, I think that's why the parent, yeah, that's the differences between the parent and the kid, the viewpoint. Yeah, understandable. Yeah.
It's interesting, guys. This isn't exactly right, but I think it's important to see certain daily activities in light of 1 hour of time. That is, one of the things we're rushing our meals. I literally believe between the 3 meals we have a day, it'd be nice if we spent at least 1 hour sitting, enjoying those meals with others total, okay? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That if you're sitting down, at least enjoying yourself, eating slowly, okay? You need to give yourself at least an hour a day in combined time, at least for all those 3. You need to at least give yourself roughly an hour outdoors, mostly with some vigorous activity, okay? Think roughly an hour. And I really believe in the spiritual life also. It's good and important to combine that in about an hour's time of reflection, calm reading, because that will make you human and it'll perfect yourself in a relationship with God, okay? Now, the nice thing is you can actually combine them. You can actually go outdoors and do a vigorous spiritual walk, okay? Maybe say some prayers, or even like every day, during my walk, I walk nearly every day, I actually print something out. And part of the time I underline, I reflect on that as I'm walking. So you can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone sometimes, okay? So, but I highly encourage you guys, at least 1 hour of some kind of exercise. Again, not very necessarily hard, vigorous, but where you're outdoors, at least doing some kind of walking, stretching, something, hopefully outdoors. Again, an hour sitting with meals, that will make you more human. One of the reasons I think we're dehumanized today is because we're made for communion, and that communion is usually found at mealtime, okay? So that will make you human. Prayer will actually make you more human too. So these activities, these 3, I find very important if we can inculcate those on a daily level. Yeah, I don't think much about exercise on Sundays actually, but Monday through Saturday I do. Yeah, Sundays I don't. If I don't get exercise, it doesn't bother me.
Church time Sunday.
Yeah.
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 I was going to ask you, Dr. Chavez, would you think that martial arts in itself can be spiritual? Because I feel like martial arts, when you're really, really immersed into it,
yeah,
you're so focused that you almost have no other thoughts in your head. It's I think it's kind of this healthy meditative state sometimes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you for saying that. It's interesting. In Christian history, as I understand it, for the better part, probably 1,000 years, maybe not that long, in Europe, there used to be called, what I understand to be the Flos Duellatorum. It's like the flowering of the burgeoning of dueling. And boys had a regimented process of learning how to wrestle and then box and grapple, and then they moved on to weapons and other things. And so it used to be that we used to have a culture which saw the formation in the martial arts, or I'll use the word combat arts, okay, as just necessary for a man's formation. And those combat arts would actually continue, obviously not as an intense level, but would continue through most of a man's lifetime. And you're right. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of physical things to be attained, but yeah, in terms of spiritual lessons, I believe you could teach like the faith with a boxing glove, because there's so many analogies with the faith and with combat. I mean, even St. Paul and Jesus and David, use buckler and shield and weaponry and helmets and all the rest. So those paradigms and that equipment of war was used in teaching spiritual realities. But yeah, there's much to be gained from lessons to be learned in the combat arts. And it's interesting. I mean, you think of if you search like the wisdom of Rocky Balboa, or the wisdom of or some of these other popular, I'm thinking of some of these martial artists, Bruce Lee, or even the more conventional American ones, or even some of the weightlifters. You look at some of their sayings and they'll actually show you wisdom of life that they learn. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger. You search quotes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, you'll find quotes from him that he's learned, okay, because of his experience in just weightlifting, okay? or Bruce Lee in the martial arts. There's a lot of wisdom that comes forth from these men, from what they've learned. So yes, I think the growth in wisdom and the growth in knowledge, or growth in truth and practical truth especially, is gained very much in the martial arts. Absolutely. All right, glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.